30 seconds. That is all the time it took for the entire world of tennis to shift its axis. Imagine thousands of people sitting at their computers, refreshing their browsers, and waiting for the clock to hit noon. They were all waiting for one thing. It was the Sampaguita collection. This was the first major collaboration between Nike and the rising star Alex Eala. The anticipation was not just high, it was feverish. When the buy button finally appeared, the digital shelves were stripped bare before most people could even type their credit card numbers. In 30 seconds, everything was gone. Sold out. For the fans in the United States who were left with empty shopping carts, it was a moment of shock. But for the people inside the headquarters of Nike, it was a signal that a new era had arrived. And for the reigning queen of American tennis, Coco Gauff, it was a wake-up call that felt like a punch to the gut. Later that same afternoon, the atmosphere at a private tennis facility in Florida was anything but celebratory. Coco Gauff was there for a routine practice session. Usually, she is the center of attention. She is the one people watch with awe. But witnesses on the ground say the mood was dark. Gauff was not just hitting balls, she was attacking them. The coach of Gauff looked concerned. There was a visible edge to her movements that had nothing to do with technique and everything to do with frustration. She was seen checking her phone between sets, her face tightening as she scrolled through the news of the sellout. At one point, she reportedly threw her racket toward her bag with a force that silenced the entire court. It was a rare moment where the composed champion seemed to lose her cool. This was not the behavior of a player who felt secure in her position. This was the behavior of someone who realized that the ground was moving beneath her feet. Why would a global superstar like Gauff care about a clothing drop for a player who is still fighting to break into the top 20? On paper, there is no contest. Gauff has the trophies. She has the Grand Slam title. She has the years of experience at the top. But in the modern world of sports, trophies are only part of the equation. There is a second scoreboard that matters just as much. The scoreboard of cultural relevance and commercial power. And on that scoreboard, Alex Eala just scored a massive victory. It is a paradox that defies everything we think we know about tennis. How can a newcomer from the Philippines command more attention than the darling of American sports? The answer is hidden in the way Nike is changing its strategy. The answer is found in the numbers that Gauff was looking at on her phone. And the truth is, Gauff has every reason to be worried. Something happened in that practice session that suggests the rivalry of the future will not be fought with rackets alone. It will be fought for the soul and the wallet of the global fan base. To understand the tension in Florida, we have to look at the massive stakes that are now on the line. To understand why this situation is so explosive, we have to pull back the curtain on the hierarchy of Nike tennis. For a long time, the path to the top was very clear. You win a major tournament, you become the face of the brand, and you get the biggest marketing budget in the world. This was the path of Serena Williams. This was the path of Naomi Osaka. And for the last few years, this has been the undisputed path of Coco Gauff. She was the chosen one. She was the investment that Nike banked on to carry the brand for the next decade. And to be fair, she has delivered. She is a household name in the United States. She is an inspiration to millions. But Alex Eala is a different kind of animal. She does not just represent a country, she represents a movement. Look at the data that is coming out of the early months of 2026. In cities like Daly City, Jersey City, and across the suburbs of Los Angeles, the name Alex Eala is spoken with a level of devotion that is hard to describe. These are communities with massive buying power and a deep desire to see one of their own reach the summit of the sport. When you look at the search data from Google and YouTube, the trend is undeniable. In the last 90 days, search volume for the gear of Alex Eala in the United States has grown by 400%. She is currently generating more social media engagement per post than several players in the top 10 combined. This is a level of organic growth that money cannot buy. It is a grassroots explosion that has taken the traditional tennis world by surprise. Nike is a company that thrives on data. They saw this wave coming before anyone else. They realized that while Gauff is the queen of the mainstream American market, Eala is the bridge to a global audience that is hungry for a hero. The Sampaguita collection was a test. It was a way for Nike to see if the hype was real. And the 30-second sellout gave them a definitive answer. It proved that Eala is not just a player. She is a brand that can move products faster than almost anyone else on the tour. But here is where it gets complicated for Gauff. Marketing budgets are not infinite. Every dollar that Nike spends on a signature collection for Eala is a dollar that might have gone to Gauff. Every billboard that features the face of Eala is a billboard that Gauff does not own. For the first time in her career, Gauff is facing a rival who can match her where it hurts the most. Her status as the primary focus of the biggest brand in sports. Imagine the pressure of that realization. Imagine being in the middle of a practice session and realizing that your sponsor is already looking for the next big thing. It creates a level of insecurity that can break even the strongest athletes. Gauff is seeing a shift in the way she is being treated. She is seeing the attention move toward a girl who was playing on the junior circuit just a few years ago. This is not just about a rivalry on the court. It is about a fight for survival in a world where you are only as good as your last sales report. The tension we saw in Florida was not just about a bad practice session. It was the sound of a champion realizing that her monopoly on the spotlight is over. If you can feel the weight of this shift and you want to understand how it will change the game forever, you are in the right place. We are going to keep following this story as it develops because the world of tennis is about to get much louder. If you want to make sure you hear everything as it happens, you should join our community here so we can continue this journey together. The events in Florida were not an isolated incident. If you look closely at the tapes from the Miami Open, the signs of a fracture were already visible. It was a Tuesday afternoon during the first week of the tournament. Usually, the top seeds receive the red carpet treatment. They get the prime signing slots and the biggest stages. Coco Gauff arrived for the scheduled autograph session of Gauff, and there was a respectable crowd. But just high rows down, the line for Eala was wrapping around the entire stadium concourse. It was a sea of blue, red, and yellow flags. The energy was different. It felt less like a tennis match and more like a rock concert. Reporters on the ground noticed that the team of Gauff was not happy. They were seen talking to tournament officials and asking why the logistics were so poorly managed. But it was not a management issue. It was a popularity issue. This was the first layer of the descent into the conflict. The friction was not just about the numbers of the fans. It was about the way the fans were acting. The supporters of Eala were not just there to see a match. They were there to witness a moment of national pride. This creates a type of noise and intensity that can be very distracting for an opponent. During a practice session later that day, Gauff had to stop several times because the cheers from the court of Eala next door were so loud. You could see the frustration on the face of Gauff. She is a player who thrives on focus, and that focus was being shattered by a teenager who has not even won a major title yet. It was a subtle shift in the atmosphere that suggested the home court advantage of Gauff was starting to disappear. The second layer of this mystery was the gear itself. Every year, Nike releases a standard kit for the top athletes of the brand. Gauff usually receives a custom colorway, but the silhouette is shared with others. With Eala, Nike did something they almost never do for a player outside the top 10. They created a custom logo. They integrated the Sampaguita flower, which is the national flower of the Philippines, into the fabric. This was not a generic tennis outfit. It was a statement of cultural identity. When Gauff saw the level of detail and the marketing muscle behind the line of Eala, the realization started to sink in. She was the face of the brand in America, but she was being treated like just another player on the roster. Eala was being treated like a movement. The rumors started to swirl in the player lounge. Coaches and agents were whispering about the unusual level of access that the team of Eala had to the creative directors of Nike. This is a privilege usually reserved for the legends of the game. For a player like Gauff, who has worked her entire life to earn that seat at the table, it felt like a betrayal. She was seeing the resources that she helped build, being funneled into a player who is still a prospect in the eyes of many. The tension was not just about clothes, it was about respect. It was about the feeling that the brand was already looking past the achievements of Gauff to find the next big thing. The third layer was the sense of isolation. Even though the tournament was on American soil, Gauff began to feel like an outsider. Everywhere she went, she saw the posters of Eala. She saw the social media posts of Nike focusing on the heritage of Eala. She saw the executives of Nike sitting in the box of Eala during matches. It was a total takeover of the environment. A reporter from a major sports network tried to ask Gauff about the success of Eala after a match, and the response was short and cold. Gauff said that she was happy for her, but she was focused on her own game. The body language told a different story. The eyes of Gauff were tight. Her jaw was set. She was a champion who felt her territory being invaded. This leads us to the mystery that has been bothering every tennis fan in the world. Why would Nike take such a massive risk? Why would they risk upsetting their biggest American star to promote a newcomer? If you think this is just about selling a few t-shirts, you are missing the bigger picture. There is a secret that the headquarters in Beaverton has been guarding for months. If you look at the internal memos that have recently started to circulate, the truth is far more shocking than any locker room drama. We are about to dive into the real reason why Gauff lost her cool entire sow. The world of tennis will never be the same. This brings us to the moment where we reveal the twist. This is the information that changes everything. The reaction of Coco Gauff was not an act of jealousy. It was an act of survival. Earlier this year, a highly sensitive document was leaked from the financial department of Nike. This document detailed a massive pivot in the global strategy of the company. It was titled, "The East Rise." For decades, the primary market for premium tennis gear has been North America and Western Europe. But those markets are what experts call saturated. There is no more growth to be found. Every fan in the United States who wants a pair of tennis shoes already has them. To keep the shareholders happy, Nike needs a new frontier. That frontier is the Asian-Pacific region. The document revealed that the board of directors made a decision to cut the marketing budget for American athletes by 15%. That is millions of dollars that vanished overnight. Where did that money go? It went into the development of the brand of Eala. Nike is betting that Eala can do for tennis what Yao Ming did for basketball in China. She la Chia Hua to unlocking a market of hundreds of millions of new consumers. She is the bridge between the Western tradition of the sport and the untapped potential of the East. What do you think about this strategy? Is it fair for a brand to shift its focus away from a champion like Gauff to chase new markets? Or is this just the cold reality of global business? I want to know your thoughts on this because the debate in the comments is where the real story happens. We value the perspective of the fans who have been following these players since day one, so please share your opinion below. When Gauff found out about the budget cuts and the secret priority of Eala, it was a devastating blow. It meant that she was no longer the primary focus of the company. She was being treated as a legacy asset while Eala was the growth asset. This is why she was attacking Nung Tribon in Florida with such anger. She was not just practicing tennis, she was fighting against a corporate machine that had already decided her best days of growth were behind her. The sellout of the Sampaguita collection was the final proof that the strategy was working. It showed that Eala could generate massive revenue in the United States while appealing to the global market. The campaign for Eala was designed to be culturally explosive. It was designed to make the American audience feel like they were missing out on something special. And it worked. The scarcity of the product created a frenzy that even Gauff has not seen in years. For a player like Gauff, who has been the center of the tennis universe since she was 15, this is a terrifying new reality. She is in a position where she has to compete with a teammate for the attention of her own sponsor. This shift has massive implications for the future of the WTA. If the biggest brand in sports is moving its money to Asia, the entire structure of the tour will follow. We are talking about more tournaments in the East, more prize money for those events, and a total change in the hierarchy of power. Eala is the face of this revolution. She is the weapon that Nike is using to change the game, and Gauff is the one who has to deal with the fallout. The tension we are seeing is the first crack in the old world of tennis. The rise of Eala is not just a success story for one girl from the Philippines. It is the beginning of a global war for the future of the sport. But how Eala sustain this level of hype? Does she have the actual results to back up the marketing? Chungtafai look at the hard numbers to find out if this is a bubble or a new empire. Look at the charts. In the first 3 months of 2026, the growth of the audience for Eala was not just steady, it was vertical. While most players in the top 30 saw a modest increase of 5 to 10% in their social media following, Eala exploded with a growth rate of over 60%. But the most interesting part of the data is where those new fans are coming from. They are not just from Manila or Quezon City, they are from San Francisco, Chicago, and Houston. In California alone, the engagement on the posts of Eala is double the rate of any other female athlete under the age of 25. This is the proof that Nike was looking for. If you look at the analytics from YouTube, the story becomes even more clear. Usually, a match between a top 30 player and a veteran like Laura Siegemund would generate a few 100,000 views. It is a standard match for a standard audience. But the match of Eala against Siegemund in Miami generated over 3 million views in 48 hours. More importantly, over 40% of those views came from IP addresses located in the United States. This means that Eala is not just a regional hero for the Philippines. She is a massive draw for the American market. She is attracting the casual tennis fan who wants to see the next big thing. We spoke to several high-end retailers in Los Angeles and New York to verify the demand for the gear of Eala. One store manager in Santa Monica told us that they received more calls about the Sampaguita line than they did for the latest release of any top 10 player. He said that the customers were not just buying a shirt, they were buying a piece of history. This is the specific type of loyalty that advertisers dream about. It is the kind of loyalty that makes a brand like Nike pivot their entire strategy. They see a player who can move products in both the East and the West simultaneously. Now, for the loyal viewers who have stayed with us, there is a piece of information that has not been reported by the mainstream media. There is a story from the Nadal Academy in Mallorca that explains why Eala has so much leverage. Last year, Rafael Nadal himself sat down with the top executives from Nike. He did not just ask for a sponsorship for his student. He demanded that Eala receive creative equity in her products. This means she gets a percentage of every sale and a direct say in the design. This is a level of power that even Coco Gauff did not have at the start of the career of Gauff. Nadal told the executives that Eala was the future of the brand in the East. He was right. The success of the collection is a direct result of that meeting. It shows that the team of Eala was playing a much bigger game than anyone realized. This leads us to the final answer of the mystery. Why did Coco Gauff lose her cool in Florida? It was the realization that the structure of power in tennis had shifted. Gauff is a champion, but she is also a student of the game. She knows how the business works. When she saw the speed of the sellout and the level of the investment from Nike, she understood that she was no longer the only priority. The reaction of Gauff was not about one clothing line. It was about the fear of being replaced in the heart of the sport. The payoff of this story is that we are witnessing the birth of a new kind of rivalry. In the past, rivalries were built on the court through wins and losses. But the rivalry of Eala and Gauff will be built on influence and cultural power. It is a battle for who can capture the imagination of the world. Gauff represents the established excellence of American tennis. Eala represents the global future. This is the real reason why the tension is so high. Every match they play from now on will have the weight of millions of dollars and the reputation of the biggest brand in the world behind it. The rise of Eala is a reminder that the world is getting smaller. A girl from the Philippines can go to Spain to train, sign with a global brand, and then sell out a collection in America in 30 seconds. It is a beautiful and terrifying reality for the old guard of the sport. It means that no position is safe and no market is guaranteed. The drama in Florida was just the first chapter of a much longer story. As the WTA moves into the summer season, all eyes will be on these two stars. Will Gauff find a way to reclaim the top spot in the hierarchy of Nike? Or will the momentum of Eala become too great to stop? The question that remains is simple. Is the world of tennis ready for a shift of this magnitude? We are watching a transformation that happens only once in a generation. It is a story of business, culture, and the raw ambition of two young women who want to be the best. If you want to see how this conflict unfolds and understand the hidden forces that shape the lives of the players you love, you are in the right place. We will be here to provide the context and the data that you cannot find anywhere else. Do you want to be the first to know when the next reveal happens? By joining us here, you ensure that you are always ahead of the curve as we track the rise of the next global empire in tennis. We have much more to discuss in the coming weeks. Until then, keep watching the matches and keep looking for the stories behind the scores. This is just the beginning.